he goes,
Yeah,
are
they're
you ready,
focused.
Rose?
Face off, get off.
What time have you
Or get
got on
out.
your
Yeah,
computer?
yeah,
That
face
clock
off,
says
face
3.
off, get off.
We got
You know what I'm
2:59.
talking about? He was so funny.
All right.
Like the
Official
idiot.
Verizon time.
I believe the Verizon time, yeah.
He went good.
Why don't we go ahead and start? We'll call the meeting to order,
I think-
and the
I think
first
I'll lose
item of
sometime.
business is minutes from our last meeting, which was April 10th. I assume everybody's committed them to memory. And do we have any additions, corrections? Motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have official minutes. Recognizing that we have at least 3 members of this commission who have been on for less than a year, I thought it would be good to invite County Attorney Tom Yeager, who also advises a number of municipalities around the Upper Chesapeake, to come in and tell us what an advisory commission is. What are our powers for the commission and members of it? So, Tom, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. This will be very informal. First of all, thank you for having me. I try to get to meetings of different boards and commissions from time to time. And this is, I think, my first time in recent memory that I've been to one of your meetings, so thank you very much.
Tom, I know you talk with your hands, but you need a mic in one of them.
Oh, that's great, yeah. Well, they gave me this, and they told me to use it, and I forgot. Okay, first thing you want to do is follow directions.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for having me, and thank you for your service. This committee, advisory in nature, does play an important role in Kent County. And there are different types of committees and different roles of committees. Some boards and commissions and committees are more what I would call regulatory or quasi-judicial in nature. An example of that would be the Kent County Board of Zoning Appeals. So if somebody wishes to get variance, they go before the Board of Appeals, they plead their case, and then the Board of Appeals makes a decision. Also, matters such as a special exception use. Let's say you want to have a certain type of business, but it's not a permitted use under the zoning ordinance, but it's something you can get a special exception for. Then you go in front of the Board of Appeals, and they will hear the case and make a decision. So that's an example of a board that's kind of quasi-judicial in nature. You are here to support, provide advice and guidance, and that's a board that's advisory in nature. For example, nobody is going to come to you to have you as the decision maker as to whether or not they can get approvals. That's not the role of committees such as this one. That being said, you do, well, either I spoke up louder or somebody turned my volume up.
Yeah, the volume's quite loud. We can hear you.
Yeah, what? So the duties of the committee are set forth in the county code. I know not everybody goes and picks up a copy of the code or goes online to see the code. Then sometimes you look at the code and you see all this legalese or language and you say, well, what does that mean? So I thought I could just go down the duties of the commission, walk you through it. If you have any questions for me, I will.
I have copies.
Oh, great, great. Just try to answer them as best I can, and I know we have very capable staff here that can also provide assistance. So the first duty is support and assist the director in the performance of his or her duties. And that doesn't necessarily mean you show up at Jamie's office and say, here I am, but there may be things from time to time that there's a project and maybe the county doesn't have enough staff. Maybe there's an event that we're putting on and we need some volunteers and we need some people with some good ideas that can help out. And that would be an example of that. And I'm sure Jamie can think of some other things too from time to time. Meet with the county commissioners annually and as requested to review and evaluate economic policies and issues. And I know that's something that you do. And I know that the county commissioners value the work of committees such as yours and look forward to hearing from you. Recommend proposed policies and legislation to the director to promote a healthy business climate. For example, if you become aware maybe there's some things that another jurisdiction is doing a neighboring county or a neighboring state is doing, and that promotes business, and across your travels or networking or someplace you learn of something, this is an opportunity to share it with the committee, let the staff, Jamie in particular, know about it, and if it's something that might be appropriate for legislation for the county, that's something that you could play a role in helping to shape. With respect to code provisions and legislation, that's within the province of the county commissioners. They're the ones that hold the public hearing and take the ultimate vote. But they do like to hear from people that have an interest or an expertise in the area of the legislation. And if there's a need for something, they would be interested in hearing that. So generally with something like this, if you learn of something that you think might benefit the county, and it's something that may require legislation, something you can discuss among yourselves and discuss it with the Economic Development Director. And if it's something that's appropriate for legislation, she can work with me and with other county staff to craft that. A good example of that has been the short-term rental tax. We used to call that the hotel tax. And Jamie's office, as well as Pat Merritt's office, was very involved in that, and I was as well. And it was a team effort as a way to support our municipalities and make sure everybody's paying their fair share here. Next up on the list, promote cooperation between county departments, municipal and state governments. And that's always important. I just mentioned the short-term rental tax. We worked with the Commissioner's Office, we worked with Finance Office, and Economic and Tourism Development Office. So it's good to have all the stakeholders together so we can get these different viewpoints and make sure, you know, if we look at something from one perspective and it has an effect on another department, we'd like to get input from them, because sometimes you think you're fixing something and then you might create a bigger problem with the fix without even realizing it. So it's always good to have that cooperation. And also between municipal and state governments, I have a soft spot for the towns because I represent a number of them, and we're very fortunate in this county that for the most part the towns have excellent working relationships with the county and cooperative relationships with the county, because if you live in a town you're also a citizen of the county. So often things that benefit the county in general benefit municipalities and vice versa. So it's very important to have that cooperation. Provide an annual review of the county economic development strategic plan. I think that's self-explanatory. Assist the director with the retention, expansion, and attraction of businesses in the county, and that's very important. We don't want to lose what we have, and we want to continue to grow. We need the economic growth, obviously, in the county, especially with the fiscal challenges that we experience today. And as part of that, and I think this is another bullet point, but I'll touch on this because it's related, there are a lot of resources out there available to businesses, and many businesses don't realize that. Because when you're running a business, you have so many things on your plate, so many immediate things. Often you don't think of places where there might be assistance or help or programs that can assist your business. And that's a great thing that you can do to help get the word out and to provide assistance to businesses to let them know what resources are out there. As needed, attend public meetings regarding local and regional economic and tourism development. That's another thing that's self-explanatory. If there is an issue that's before another board that's important to you in your role as promoting economic development, it would be beneficial to be at that meeting and to provide input. And I know Jamie can keep you abreast of things that are happening around the county where there might be a meeting that would be appropriate to have members of the commission there. Maybe not so much as a body, but to observe and to get the pulse as to what's going on. So there could be many reasons for attending meetings. Assist the director to ensure local businesses are aware of any local, state, and federal government funding sources, loans, and grants for business growth and retention. And I touched on that a little while ago, and that is so important. especially since the time COVID has hit and with inflation and all the challenges and just what you hear from many businesses is it's very difficult to find employees. Things like that are very important. And perform and or support other duties as requested by the county commissioners or the director. I'm looking to Jamie again on that one. So clearly that is an open-ended kind of thing. So if there's something that you feel could be helpful to the director, you have the green light to, to provide whatever assistance or suggestions that you can. I would touch on this. There are a number of things that are somewhat related to economic development collaterally. For example, zoning approvals. Those generally aren't things within the province of your board. Those usually come before, not usually, they always come before the Planning Commission, the Board of Appeals, county commissioners, things like that. So those are typically things that are within the province of other boards, and I mentioned some are more quasi-judicial or regulatory in nature. Your Board of Appeals is an example of that again. So there may be certain things that have a relationship to business, but they're more of a zoning matter than a business matter. So with that said, again, I thank you very much for your service. And if you have questions or concerns about any legal issues, the best way to deal with that generally would to bring them to staff, and then staff can bring them to me rather than contacting me directly, because otherwise if that happens, I get a million people contacting me, and then the county says, what are you doing, Tom? And so I generally don't have individual board members or employees contact me. Usually it's through the chair or through the staff person that is the point person in that. But again, I'm happy to provide you with whatever assistance and guidance I can. And again, I thank you for all you do.
Tom, thanks for being here. We allowed 15 minutes on the agenda, so if commission members have a question or two for Tom before he goes.
Well, I have a question. I don't know
Judy
if it
Crowe?
goes to you or Tom. At one time, I remember tourism was separate than economic development. When did it get merged together? I kind of missed
That was
it.
a few years ago, and we had two
2021.
separate departments and we had two separate commissions. And it's interesting, we kind of did a 360 because way back, tourism and economic development were combined. And then we separated them out and then we combined them again. So I think there was a general feel that we could be more effective with one unified board and one office handling everything. So we don't duplicate work, or we don't have conflicting messages. We thought it would just be more efficient and more unifying to do everything together. And I know Jamie was involved in that process. Not to put you on the spot, but is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, the county administrator, the Tourism Development Advisory Board and the Economic Development Commission, all the members were involved too. And we had lots of meetings with different jurisdictions in the state of Maryland and outside of the state of Maryland, some that were completely governmental, some that were quasi-government, and some that were completely nonprofits, to see how they did it, to try to come up with the best model. And that's what we ultimately land on, and it was combined in April of 2021.
Right, and what we tried to do was, as far as terms, that anyone who was on one of these commissions whose term hadn't expired yet, they would stay on the combined commission.
Correct.
And we have Sandy here today.
Am I the only one? I guess I
So,
am.
so we tried to have a very seamless transition, but as Jamie pointed out, there was some thought put into that. And having it combined, my sense is that's probably the more prevalent practice right now, or that's the practice that's going. No?
No, I know several counties that have one department but two separate commissions.
Okay.
Like Queen Anne's and Talbot, I think.
Okay. Yeah, because I know we had it combined, then we separated it, and then we combined it again. But
And
I didn't do the research on that. I just know there was some thought put into that, and they thought
Yeah.
for Kent County, and perhaps because we're a smaller county too, it kind of made sense to put everything together. But again, I wasn't one that advised on the merits of combining. My role in that as the attorney was to make sure that the way we wrote it in the code, that we accomplished what we wanted to and that everything was smooth and we didn't have any conflicts in our code. So generally on questions like this, I don't have a horse in the race. As the county attorney, I don't set the policy. What my role is, when the policy is set, I want to make sure that it's legally defensible and that our code is written so it's understandable and it's not in conflict with other positions or provisions, and everything is nice and smooth.
Good. Tom, we thank you. We really appreciate your overview and your legal knowledge. It's very helpful, at least to me, and hopefully it's rubbed off to others.
That's right. Thank you.
You can stay if you'd like, but I'm turning the meeting off.
I'm gonna go because I have a Rock Hall Planning Commission meeting tonight, and I got 2 graduations to attend over the next few days, so I'm gonna be out of the office Thursday and Friday, so I have a couple of things to do. But
You're
again,
doing the right thing.
thank you for having me, and Mr. Story, if you need anything else, just let me know, and I'm happy to assist.
Good. Thank you, Tom. Before we get into the agenda, just a quick note from the chair, and maybe I will do meetings in the future with a quick chair's report for misbehaving that I've been doing in the subsequent month. Since our last meeting, I have taken upon myself to meet with all the members of our commission, all of our staff, and members of county government, and seeing what they thought. Just like Tom said, this commission should be doing what we as members should be doing. And one of the overriding themes that came out of that, or those meetings, was B&B, Judy. Brainstorming and briefing. And we're really getting the feeling that our members are enjoying the briefings, but would like to get more brainstorming.
Brainstorming and
Briefing.
briefing, gotcha.
And so you can see some changes in today's agenda. You'll see changes in the agendas going forward, but basically, 1 month our meeting will be briefings, and typically the way we've been meeting for 1,000 years, or however long it's been. And then the next meeting would be brainstorming. We would sit around talking about agendas that the commission members have surfaced, and will give us a full meeting to talk about the merits of those ideas and see where we go with that. Thoughts, observations?
So would we combine the briefings with the brainstorming? So like you come up with a brainstorming and then get somebody to brief, or vice
Yeah.
versa, and kind of relate the two?
I don't see that as mutually exclusive, Judy, but primarily, one meeting will be speakers and interactions with them, and a little bit of brainstorming, because we'll always have items for next month's agenda. And then the next meeting is addressing all of those issues.
Okay.
And if it doesn't work, we'll change again.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Dick, I have one
Paula.
concern. There is obviously ongoing work of the department,
Yes.
and a briefing on what the staff is accomplishing, which I consider to be a valuable input, doesn't really give us, I think, a full view of everything that the department, in its normal course of business, is conducting, viewing, determining our issues and opportunities that I think are relevant to the discussions of this committee. So I think the suggestion that we have a briefing on staff activities, and then another thing that allows the committee members to brainstorm, doesn't really address the daily work
Paula, can you
the
hold those
committee.
thoughts? Because I think we need to go back up to our guests first. Sorry about that, because we
But
went a little out of
you
order.
asked for
But hold that
input,
thought.
for
Yep.
feedback.
And I appreciate
that's-
We're going to talk more about that as down here, so hold those thoughts.
Yeah,
And
it is on the agenda, and
Yeah.
should I stray, I can count on Paula to lean me up again. We do have a couple of guests to be with us today. Each of you has an hour on the agenda, so we're looking forward to your input. Andre Anderson, Next Generation Scholars Program Manager.
Hello, yes, thank you so much for having me.
I
I'd like to
think there is a
stand.
mic on that table,
Do you want me to sit here?
please.
Okay.
Unless you want to do, jumping jacks. I know.
Welcome, Andre.
There we go. Is that good? Okay. Thank you. I wanted to come today. So I oversee the Maryland Business Roundtable for Education Next Generation Scholars Program. So it's a program that helps provide college and career access to students across the state, but I primarily work with students in Kent County. We have about 140 students between grades 10 and 12 that I help with developing their individualized future plans, help them, kind of craft ideas about what exists here, what kinds of opportunities exist for you for your future. So we like to go on do different events, have different programs, and we make great connections as a result of that. And one of the best connections that we've been able to make is with the Economic and Tourism Development group. So we have partnered on a variety of events in the past, and Shallon and Jamie have both been guests on the College and Career Radio Show. And the one thing that we really wanted to highlight, so every year we like to do an awards night. So we invite the students and their families and kind of celebrate them. But we also want to celebrate the connections, because it's not our program alone, it's the connections that we're making in the county, throughout the state, different partnerships that really make it worthwhile. So I prepared a little statement that I want to read, but I have an award to present for this.
Is there a
So,
cash award that goes with that, or
I don't see
just a plaque?
unfortunately. So this is to highlight one specific event that we partnered with Economic and Tourism Development this past year. So MBRT and Kent County host dozens of programs and events throughout the year. We're fortunate to have the assistance of Speakers Bureau members. So we have a network of kind of volunteers that will connect with students, local organizations, and more. This year, we're recognizing a partnership that assisted with our signature program, Career Tours. This program takes our newest Next Generation Scholars members, who are 10th graders, on a tour of opportunities in Kent County. Like, what exists in your own backyard? What things are here for current jobs now, for internships, for apprenticeships, and then eventually to come and join the workforce. Students get to connect with local professionals and tour local businesses. Oftentimes, they discover things that they didn't know were in their own backyard, which is the best part. During the Chestertown part of the program this past year, students toured the Visitor Center, Town Hall. They got to come in here and attend a commissioners meeting and get recognized by the commissioners, which they thought was really cool. And they toured Kent County government offices and visited Modern Stone Age Kitchen. So I wanted to present this award. So this is the Kent County Partnership Program of the Year Award for our career tours, because it was an amazingly impactful program for our 33 sophomores that were able to attend the program. And I wanted to specifically thank Shallon and Jamie and Katie for putting together such a thoughtful Chestertown part of our career tours. Students got to make connections. We actually had a student get an internship offer at Modern Stone Age Kitchen afterwards, because she just kept asking all the right questions, which really got Christina excited. So, we have that program for them to discover what makes Kent County so great. And I love being able to share that with them. So I'm here to present this award and to say thank you.
Can we arrange a photo op with Commissioner Price and maybe Jamie?
I wanted to take the picture.
Not exactly dressed for photographs. But I am cool.
There you go. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Do you want me to come on in here?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that one? Yeah, that's all right. All right. 1, 2,
Rachel played tennis, so.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Yes. Thank you.
Questions of Audra?
yeah. I know you only have a few minutes, but I'm not quite sure what exactly you do except for this outstanding tour that you described. So like,
What other programs?
yeah, like what's the plan? Like you start out in 10th grade, you go to 12th grade. So how does it work?
Yeah, so we start recruiting students in 10th grade, and the reason that this program was founded is to help students access funding to attend college or trade school or university in the state of Maryland, to keep the talent in Maryland, to engage them, and we know that for the most part, wherever somebody goes to school is where they're going to join the workforce. That's kind of the idea behind it. So we start recruiting in 10th grade. I help each student figure out an individualized plan. How are you going to get through high school graduation? What are you going to do to get some workforce development, internships, jobs, things like that, and then help them with applications or applying to different jobs, things like that, their senior year. But it doesn't end there. Since we started, we thought we would end at 12th grade, but that's very difficult once you've created a great relationship with a family. So now we have, this is our 7th year doing the program, so now we have students that are going to be entering their senior year of college. So we help them with financial aid documents, summer internships, kind of keeping engaged in the program. The students that have graduated from high school will come back and talk to the current high school students. So we do a lot of kind of breaking the cycle. About 45% of our students are first generation if they're going to continue higher education, and 90% are free and reduced meals or lower income. So they really don't have a lot of guidance or direction, so we provide a lot of that for them.
That's awesome.
It's really
So you have a
cool.
pretty high success rate with that individual attention.
Yes, actually, this is the first, this year, 100% of students in the Kent program applied to a college or a trade school, and that has never happened before. So
Awesome. And it's
great.
just you?
I'm yes, in Kent, but there are 5 of us across the states. We also have representation in Allegheny, Caroline, Dorchester, and Wycomico, in addition to Kent.
That's awesome. Good on you.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you use business people as mentors and coaches?
Yes, so we actually also, Shallon and Jamie have come into the classroom. We've done mock interviews and resume development. We bring banks in to do financial literacy senior year. We do kind of like a career exploration in 10th grade. And then we'll actually take our alumni into 8th grade classrooms to help those students kind of find their way through high school as well. So we try to engage lots of different levels of people for our students.
You need to get out there and touch more kids.
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I'll just share why Audra's here. If anyone's interested in helping with mock interviews, please send me your email and I'll forward it on to Audra.
Yes.
Because she's always looking for people to help with those and, from many different, industries and backgrounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have one observation to make. Audra, I also commend you on what you're doing, and I'm assuming that's what you're doing is coordinated with the counseling group at the schools.
Yes.
Those connections, in my experience, and I have a fair amount of experience going way back, as you might be able to tell from the color of my hair, those connections are critical to the students, I'm sure you're aware. And the ability of students to connect to businesses, which is facilitated through this department, is also critical because they get to ask questions, they get to do all the things you've mentioned. And in our area in particular, where a lot of students are first generation and are coming from backgrounds that are low income, where the prospect of college is dim, if not dimmer, the support you're providing is really essential. So thank you.
Jamie has your contact information, so if any member of the commission would like to get more deeper involved, you're the connector.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, Liliana Chonette, I've been practicing all day, but I have to read your title, Liliana, the Public Affairs Specialist, SBA Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience, which is an important word.
And let me just say first, thank you and for welcoming me. This is the second time I'm before a commission in Kent County. And I'm falling in love with Kent County and with Chestertown. So pay attention, I might be getting that white hair over here and getting my mom, because, I think I love the city.
And we have a realtor on our commission, just.
Oh, okay. My mission today is to bring you information from the Small Business Administration, the federal agency, my part of the, division of the agency is recovery and resilience. We used to be called last year disaster assistance, so that's kind of like a little bit over the tongue. But disaster assistance, I think it described exactly what we do. We come here, we are activated only when it's a natural disaster or an incident or a man-inflicted incident, anything that could be an act of war, and then we are active and we go in the disaster area where the incident happened, and we try to provide information on what's available from the federal government in that area to help with the economic impact and with whatever, disaster assistance that's offered to the individuals. There are two different well, there are more than two, but the two major ones will be the presidential, where the IA, individual assistance, is available. We partner with FEMA in those, and we are on the territory and we offer assistance. FEMA offers assistance traditionally for certain, areas with individual assistance and helps individuals. We are actually specifically helping businesses, nonprofit organizations, in this kind of declaration that I'm here and representing. It's only economic impact. So economic injury disaster assistance loans, that's all we offer in this declaration, and it's due to the incident with the Francis Scott Bridge that collapsed. And it impacts, and it's gonna impact a lot more in the next 10 months, all the area. A lot of businesses that I talked to, and I went door to door, thank you, Jamie, for allowing me to be on that radio show. I came last weekend as well, and I've been like 2 minutes letting them know where our centers are. But it was some kind of a gathering, and I got to talk with a lot of business people that are local. And they opened my eyes, because they are innocent about what happens. They think that if their business, it's just, a small, coffee shop, or it's a flower shop, it does not impact them. They're so wrong. The whole area is going to be impacted. Why? Because the shutdown of the bridge, it actually not only collapsed the bridge in itself, it collapsed all the transportation, all the industry, all the containers, everything that comes in and out of that port. This past Friday, we just added 5 more counties to the declaration from Virginia, and that is the request of the governor from Virginia, because they saw the impact. They start to see how it trickles like a domino effect of this, and how it affects all these businesses. My mission is to make you aware of how to inform your residents, your business owners, how to get this assistance. This assistance is available only until December 30. So the way to get this assistance, it's either, one, come to the centers that are open in Baltimore City, and in Glen Burnie. We just opened a center on Friday. And these centers are going to be open probably for 1 week, maybe 2 weeks max from now on. The reason for that, on Friday they announced that the channels are open, so the traffic is open, so probably we're going to close the centers. So once we're on the ground, please send all the business owners that you think that they were impacted by this. Let them know about this information. Tell them to apply early in the process once we are here. If we are gone, they could apply online. They could apply online right now, There are people that they took the application online. They say 45 minutes, it was simple, no problem. I tried it. It was not 45 minutes, and it was not simple. And there were questions that I was thinking, wow, well, I could interpret this. Could it be this? Could it be that? Are they asking me the revenue of this month, or are they asking me the revenue of all these 3 months, and so on and so forth? So that's why the centers that we have opened are very important, to have this one-on-one report, and invite them to the centers, please. I brought with me flyers, I brought with me material. Jamie has put this on Facebook. The county has put this on Facebook. Emergency Management also put this on their website. But how many people do you know that they actually read those things? So I thought the best thing to do, it's actually what I've done last weekend, or last Friday. I came here, I went to the radio station, talked to people, make myself being present, let them ask me questions, because they're gonna talk amongst themselves. So, again, I cannot be cloned, I don't think. I have 7 counties that I need to cover, so Kent County is one of the counties, it's my favorite, but it's one of the counties.
You say that to all the counties, right?
And what can I say? You've got a beautiful, beautiful little city here, people are wonderful. I have not met anything in this county that I could say I dislike. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that retirement here, the realtor is there.
Liliana, you mentioned loan, not grants, but these are loans. Talk a little more about the dynamics of those loans, interest rates, payback period.
These are loans, but they're not your commercial loans. So they are straight from the federal government. U.S. Treasury is actually financing these loans. There's not an amount of what's the limit for how many loans we could take. We could take as many loans that they're coming in, okay? The interest rate, it's fixed, it's 4% for businesses and 3.25% for private nonprofit organizations. They are very simple to apply because it doesn't cost you anything to apply. The first 12 months it's free interest and no payment is expected in the first 12 months. This is to ease the economy, to ease the pain, and they could be used for anything that it's cash flow to keep this business alive and to make sure that this could be, no longer an economic impact in the area and on that business. Eligibility, they need to have, they need to provide information and documentation, financial and PPP, so personal information that they are who they say they are, that they've been in business for at least 1 year prior to the incident, that they could prove financially that economic impact was due to this incident and not because they didn't pay their rent or something. So they need to prove those things, and they need to prove that they could repay the loan, because ultimately it's a loan and it's not a grant. It's a lot of easement, but it's ultimately one option. A lot of companies that they've been through the process already, the feedback that we get from them, it's that this is great because I don't need a $2 million loan. That's the maximum of the loan they could get. I just need $100,000, $200,000 to help me through these months where I cannot get the traffic the way I used to get. I'm gonna give you a quick example of a business that's actually from Chestertown. I talked to a gentleman that I don't want to disclose the name, obviously, that it's in the wedding catering business. And he was one of the first one that was referred to me at a Chamber of Commerce event. And he approached and he said, well, I've been affected right off the bat. My trucks need to go all the way around. They can no longer do the over the bridge, transport. And because it's, catering cakes for weddings and food for businesses, it's impacted them tremendously. So obviously, that's an immediate impact that could be observed. But small businesses like the one I fell in love with, the organic shop, that excellent yogurt, those businesses, they would not see the impact right off the bat. Because they will go all the way through December, and then in December they would say, oh, I am out of this. The supplier that I used to, provide me this and this can no longer provide me that particular product. And the reason for that, it's because a lot of businesses are going to go down under. It's a fact that 40% of the businesses after an economic impact of this nature go down under. We try to stop that. We try to make it happen that it's not so, impactful. But that's what we do. On the loan in itself, the great things about the loans is they're not loans from the bank, so they're not looking at your credit score. they're looking at your credit history. Each loan, it's individual, so what's my credit score could not be the same as Jamie's. And that's why they look at them individually. If you had a loan from before, like from the COVID time, or if you had a loan from another impact, any federal loan, it's considered to be one of the list of the things that they're looking for. There are certain exclusions on businesses they cannot apply for the loan. All that information is in the fact sheet that I brought with me. The fact sheet, it's not to be published on the websites. The fact sheet is for you to know and for additional information for any applicant, but not to be published. The flyer, the idle flyer, that could be published everywhere because, that has information that it's effectful. Does that answer the question?
That's wonderful, yes. One final question, and I know you've triggered a lot of questions for our commission members. Many state and federal programs have a forgivability component that if all the pre-agreed commitments are met, that the loan is forgivable. I didn't hear you use that word.
No, and I'm not going to use that word because this loan is not forgivable. There are certain exclusions, and we're getting into the CFRs, but there are certain exclusions where a loan might become, obsolete, or it could be, perceived as, but it's not forgivable. These loans are to be told everybody in public that it's not forgivable. It's a loan that it could be also negotiated. So only at the time of the acceptance of the loan, to the time that they sign on the dotted line for the loan, it could be negotiated. So it could be more or less, but no more than $2 million. And everything that's under $25,000, it's considered to be an unsecured loan, so collateral is expected to be put at risk.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Anything that is over $25,000 for the loan, it's considered to be an unsecured loan. So everything that's over $25,000, it's unsecured, they need to put collateral, whatever collateral they have. Assets, business,
Well, that's not unsecured.
well, yeah.
Secured means you have to put up collateral.
Yeah, maybe I just expressed myself wrong. Everything that's under $25,000, no collateral is expected. Everything that is over, collateral is expected.
Okay, so they have to put up some assets of the business.
Yeah.
If they borrow more than $25,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Questions for Liliana?
I have a couple things to add, because there's lots of information, and the information has been updated as more information comes out, and she's been sending them to us regularly. So if you have somebody that's interested or wants to see it, we can send them the latest documentation to make sure they have everything that's the most up-to-date. And then secondly, in the April 12th staff report, there was a couple state programs in there as well. So if you know, and some of those are grants for businesses, individuals. So the Maryland Unemployment has some services for individuals, like subcontractors that might have been affected by the bridge. So, we might have a truck driver that was driving that might be impacted. But there's resources through the Maryland Department of Labor, resources through the Maryland Department of Commerce, and then some resources from DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development, but that's mainly for the two neighborhoods on both sides of the bridge for the community development part. But I'm happy to, please reach out to our office. It's a lot of information, but we can kind of guide them to what information they need. The grants, are available now, but as Liliana said, it might be November before somebody depending on, their inventory levels as to when they might notice the effect. So we've been trying to reach out to the people that we know import and export product and make sure they're aware of all these programs.
And if I may ask, Jamie, you might want to work together with the chamber.
Yep.
And make sure that all the businesses know to keep like a log of, track down how is their, sales going to be, because a lot of people are, a lot of tourism that's expected in the area is not gonna come. And, you know, if you have somebody like me that has to travel in all the counties and have to go over that bridge one more time and be stuck for about 45 minutes, then
Other questions,
thought.
Yeah.
comments?
So Maryland's a very agricultural state, and the port was huge for our industry, but I don't know how you would cause and affect it to the bridge. You know, say the price of fertilizer goes up because of a supply chain issue, or how do farmers fit into the picture? Have you had any experience with that?
farmers are usually covered by any program that it's USDA.
Oh, so, okay,
We cover the business. If they have a business that, you know, sells product, an agricultural product, we cover the business.
Okay.
They cover the crops, so that's the way it works. But in this case, a lot of farmers, and I will take again, the organic shop that I like, you know, restaurant. They produce things here, however, you know, they have other things in their business that they rely on the containers that are coming in the port, on suppliers that they are across the bridge, or, you know, simply traffic. So they will see that economic impact, the revenue, it's gonna go steady, and then it's gonna be a low drop. And that low drop is expected exactly closer to the, you know, end of the sunset of this program, December 30th, and being a holiday, a lot of people are not gonna think, and then they're gonna flood
yes.
your offices, and they're gonna say, where are they, and where is that program, where's that $2 billion that, you know, loan that they were offering? So, I've already talked to Jamie, I talked to the chamber, I talked to the emergency managers, and this information will be again, you know, distributed like 30 days prior to the deadline.
Right. And we've got your contact information, but it seems to me Jamie would be our point of contact if we have questions about inserting us or other businesses into the program. I know Judy Crow's barrels come from California, and they come on a truck. So,
I have two questions, Dick. Have you had a response to your radio show from our local community, number one? And number two is a logistical question. Raise the question about agricultural interests here. We have a number of companies that deal in agricultural equipment that comes in by ship. And it comes into the port and has to be brought here. And if there are delays in the deliveries of that equipment that affect the supplier's ability to deliver against orders, is that something that is considered in your equation for loan eligibility?
The answer to the first question, impact on the radio, yes, we've seen it right off the bat, the interest was there. We have not done an open mic where, you know, companies could call in and ask questions. We could do that if we can. Number two question, the answer is yes, absolutely yes, they could apply with us.
So that would apply to not only equipment dealers, but also retail companies that rely on the port to deliver product that they sell, you know, even to the point of dresses and other, you know, apparel and that sort of thing.
All the companies are included with a few exceptions from the CFRs. You know, I think gun distributors are one of the exclusions. And other type of businesses that they're excluded. But almost every business, it's included in this. And all the state of Maryland, not just this county or the adjacent counties, all the state of Maryland, all the counties are included in the declaration, and all the adjacent counties in the neighboring states. And we just added Virginia, 5, you know, counties for Virginia.
You may want to go to the DCA if you haven't already.
No, it's tonight and I'm scheduled.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
It's tonight and I'm scheduled.
So Leanna, thank you. As you go, just one request of you. As you meet with the other counties that you serve in the state of Maryland, if they have some ideas that we're not using to promote the program, let us know. Plagiarism is the sincerest form of flattery. So we'd like to steal any ideas that our neighbors are using that we can adopt.
I'll definitely make that a must, and Jamie's gonna be my point of contact for that. I just have one more thing.
Okay,
I've heard you talking about economic, development and tourism at the same. I've been doing this for 7 years. I think I know the whole United States, and I go to this commissioners meeting in and out. So I could tell you 99.9% they're economic development and tourism together. Very few that they would be separate. And the reason for that is simple, because tourism is part of the economic, development of a city.
thank you.
Thank you.
So, on the agenda, it says staff reports, but what we would like to do is, am I going too fast?
That's okay, but can we start with the ag grant update? Because there were
Oh, I'm
some
sorry.
questions on that, so Katie has gotten an update for everyone on that. So we want to adjust
You
those
even wrote it on here for me.
first.
that
That's
I'll
okay,
not
that's
forget.
okay.
All right, I won't take much
Katie,
of
do
the
you need a
time.
proper introduction?
Do I need a proper introduction? No, I think everyone here knows me.
Go ahead.
We just pulled some of the numbers to share because it was brought up at the last meeting. This is laid out for the last 4 years that we've administered the program. You can see that for each year, we showed the number of applications we received, the number of those applications that were awarded grants, the total value that was requested that year, what was contributed from the Upper Shore Regional Council, what the county contributed for these, and total funds budgeted is the amount total, and then our total funds awarded. And then I have it broken out by each fiscal year, the award recipients. So, just kind of a overall summary.
Ready for questions?
I'm ready for questions.
Okay. Looking at, first time I'm looking at this, but it looks like fiscal '24 is our best year, but the number of applications is down. Any reason for that?
No,
It's just annual cycles?
yeah, well, I'm not sure. You're referring to that it was 13 applications versus the 16? Yeah. No idea. I know Judy also pushed at the farmer's market. We didn't have that many new,
No.
most of the people who applied were people who either had previously applied. And also the judging committee decided, it's based on a point system. Those who have been previously awarded, we give consideration to those who have not been awarded. And it's also based on the project. So when the judges meet, they basically score each application and determine a cutoff point. This year, with some of the projects, there were some larger projects requiring more funding. The majority of the applicants requested the max amount of the $10,000, if not all of them. So kind of that all plays into that as well. But as far as the number of applications, couldn't tell you.
Remind us who the judges are?
Or Jamie?
So it's changed over the years because I was originally done it and then Katie took over. So our office does it. Bill Walmsley, who is a previous SCORE mentor and in the ag industry from Queen Anne's County, but he's a SCORE mentor here in Kent. Ann Forrest, SCORE mentor, and then Dwayne Joseph
Yes.
from the University of Maryland Extension.
Okay.
So, we thought about ways to promote it next year and some different things to do through the Soil Conservation Preservation Group, the University of Maryland Extension, and we got a couple other ideas written down, but that's definitely one that's on our brainstorming list of other ways to push the information out.
Yeah, because there was a lot of interest at the farmer's market, but, you know, you hand somebody something on a Saturday morning, and, you know, you need to
Well,
tell somebody
also-
more than once, and kind of, you know,
Right, well, and the other thing too is, it is an application process.
Yeah.
So also that, you know, individual needs to sit down and actually apply.
Exactly.
And there are some people where it sounds great, but they just either don't have the time, or when you
Right.
sit down to do it, it's like, oh, I'll do this later, and you just don't get to it.
Exactly.
But we'll, you know, I think that pushing it out of the farmer's market was an excellent idea. I think we should do that for the next round too.
And the harvest, the breakfast, you did that too, Judy, right?
right. That I didn't have as much success, that didn't work for I mean, I put it on everybody's table, but you couldn't, and I talked to a couple people during the break, but it wasn't a great venue for it, but it's better than nothing, not doing it, but it was kind of weird.
Okay.
Weird, it was hard to do it that.
Another thing that we can add on to the application for the next round too is a little checkbox of how did you hear about the application? And we can figure out, you know, if it
That's a
was
good
word of
idea.
mouth, if it was, you know, somebody presenting it to them online, Tidewater, like however, whatever marketing efforts we're gonna pursue. And then see if we can get some feedback that way too, because it'll be nice to know.
I don't see very many repeat customers. Is there a reason for that,
There are
year to year?
Because we try to,
lots of repeat customers.
there are some of them.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, we try to prioritize those who have not been awarded. And it also comes down to the individual projects where they score. So there's a scoring rubric that all the judges use to score, and then all the scores are averaged together. And when there's somebody who's been awarded funding in the past, in any of the previous years, there's essentially a deduction. So that way, people who have not applied kind of, you know, get bumped up just a slight bit, so they have a chance to be funded as well.
And you'll let us know when you go to visit. You don't need to schedule around us, but if we could join you, whoever might be available, it would be fun to go see some of them.
Absolutely. Yes.
Any other thoughts, questions, observations?
Oh, this was helpful, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Judy Gifford, do you think if we had an actual booth at the farmer's market, that would help?
I don't know, there's a lot of booths there, and I don't know, I can't say, you'd have to ask, I don't know, I'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
Working closely with Farm Bureau would be another good source to, they don't advertise all that much either, but they do have certain events, and the timing of when we have our farm events and when this comes out, it doesn't really overlap, so that, because we just had them in the spring, and the application's not ready in the spring for our big events, so it's a little mismatch there we got to try to overcome.
And this year too, we coordinated with Cecil and Queen Anne's County. We all decided to, you know, run it at the same time. I don't think that there's any rules that we have to. We could also discuss with the other counties if we want to stay in sync. Just throw out the idea of maybe having a longer window for applications.
That's a good idea. Okay, well, we can work on that.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
And we know how to find you. The next discussion, not so much staff reports themselves, but what do we as a commission want to hear about staff? What's valuable, what's not, what are we missing, what are we doing too much of? So the floor is open. Don't tell me it's perfect.
Well, no, I mean, I do think that it would be helpful for us to hear from Jamie and the staff, to the extent they want to participate, what they see as current obstacles to economic development, economic and tourism development,
From the chair,
current opportunities, and prospects, you know, that are on the table, what's out there. So prospects, opportunities, and obstacles. And to the extent that we as a commission can help them, you know, address those, I think that would be a useful use of our time and energy.
Rose is documenting all of these comments.
May I steal your?
Sure.
I think, I was just thinking about this, and when you might seek our advice, just as far as when projects are developing. And, you know, as we learned from Tom, and he reinforced the fact that we're advisory, you don't report to us, but we assist you. If there are times as you're developing a project or, and I don't have a specific example, but when would you seek our advice? Maybe there are things we could help, offer input before a final decision's made about something, about, where to advertise, where to attend a trade show. There's some examples that I was just jotting down, but, no one specific thing, but just thinking about our advisory role and how we could maybe time it differently.
With limited resources, I think staff can always use the benefit of our advice on, well, if you got this trade show or that trade show and you can afford one or 2 out of 3, we can sit down either in the office or around this table and say, we think you get more bang for your buck there, given on trade shows, Shallon's incredible knowledge and experience in the little time you've been tourism director. I, for one, would still like to see a continuation of Shallon and Katie and Jamie giving their reports, because that information wows me every month. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes every time.
Well, it gives us the opportunity to just keep a pulse of,
Yeah.
what's going on in the,
Yep.
in the day-to-day trenches, so to speak.
And what are you guys doing? And what do you need advice on? What is it your limited resources don't let you do? You've got to flip a coin. We'll help you call heads. Responses?
I'd also like to hear when you go to meetings, like you say, meet people or made contacts, but, can you flesh that out a little bit for us and tell us who you met or what was a good idea? I mean, I go to meetings, I always take some notes, and so maybe share those notes with us about what you thought was impactful or what you're taking home to work on, instead of just we attended, or, a little more why was it worth your while to go to that meeting and what did you get out of it?
I will add with that, we are in a lot of meetings with a lot of.
Well, use your judgment. I don't mean every meeting, but the ones that you report back on, like the meta meeting, for example, that you put in the staff report. It'd be nice to know, because that's a big deal. You don't have to deal with every 197 meetings that you go to,
Right. Yes, I was adding, because we are constantly meeting with businesses and things like that.
No,
There
just-
are things that's confidential.
No, I don't mean that at all. You know what I mean? Like if you go to a big meeting and, what did you learn and who did you see and who did you talk to that was influential and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Staff?
Don't forget your microphone.
We need to hear from the two of you in terms of what you're able to do in terms of teeing up decisions or discussions.
Okay, let me come up here. Because that other microphone was really loud when I was talking. I think just, it's kind of going from what Charlie said and David said, it's almost like, instead of giving just a staff report, I think it would be helpful to say, along with the staff report, I have this coming up, or I have this coming up, so what are your thoughts? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The only thing I will say is that it also has to kind of all be done within reason a little bit, and I know we're gonna talk about the book, but one part of the book that we read, that Ms. Judy provided us, was about having public input and things like that, making sure you kind of hone it all in and it's, within reason. So that's my only thing is, I think there's some grand ideas, especially ones that we see, which is another thing that's an obstacle for us, is people putting on Facebook, well, they should be doing this, or you should be doing this, or you should be doing this, not realizing what we are allowed to do, or have the funding to do, or the staffing to do. So I think if it can all be done, that way, I think it can be really productive.
And by the way, congratulations on that great letter that came to you that we saw in the staff report.
From Outdoors Delmarva?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was a lot of fun, and I will say also, because we have come to realize that I do nothing in good weather. So it poured down rain that day. Rock Hall, all the waterfront in Rock Hall was completely flooded. We didn't think we were gonna be able to do it. We couldn't get across East Neck Island Bridge. We had to have the charter boat move from his dock at the end of Walnut Street down around to the bulkhead. So you don't see it in the video in the clip, but part of me is in there helping tie up the charter boat. And then when they're doing interview, I'm in between the boat and the pier, holding it away because it was blowing 50, so it was blowing the boat into the dock the entire time. We had to make arrangements for a truck to come and pick us up on the other side of the Eastern Neck Island Bridge to get us across because it was washed out. But in the entire clip, you can't see that any of that even occurred that day.
Yep.
There was also a part where a snake was about an inch from my foot during filming. That also didn't make the edit, thank God.
Obviously, the audio from your response didn't make the final.
No, did not make it. I think they turned that part off. Yeah, they definitely edited that out. Me screaming and running through Eastern Neck Island for the truck when I realized there was a snake. But yes, I appreciate it. It was a great email. We had a really good time that day.
Yeah, I
despite all
had
the-
that in my notes to congratulate you on that email. 14-point font is a little excessive, but it got our attention.
Yeah, it was, I think that was the point, was to get everybody's attention. So yeah, I appreciated it. It was a really good time working with them, so thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything?
Okay,
I think one of the things we need to acknowledge as a commission is that a major portion of what these guys do and have done very successfully is public relations for Kent County. They're out there, they are the face of Kent County at all of these meetings, all of these hearings, all of these individual meetings with people that they take on tours, that they've done, as the letter suggests, just an amazing job. So I'm reluctant, personally, as a member of the commission, to tell them what to do and how to do it. I mean, I think they've been in their jobs for enough time, and they've demonstrated their proficiency sufficiently so that we can rely on them to tell us what their schedules look like, where they're going, where they think they get the most impact. That doesn't mean they can't say, what do you think about this? But I'd prefer that approach as opposed to us saying, we're here to tell you what to do and how to do it.
I don't think anybody's saying that's what we do.
Well, I just want to make that clear.
yep. I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paula.
I have a couple more things I'd like to add to the list.
Go ahead.
There's some ongoing projects that I'd like to be updated on, like the website. I'm still a little confused about that.
The website?
But, I mean, you know, what's the process and how, yeah.
So
You don't have to do it today. I didn't mean to put you on the
Right, but
spot.
I want to let you know, the website is a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a very long project.
I understand
There
that.
has not even been approval on any of that. Like Sandy and I have been working with each department to work on cleaning up pages to try to narrow down some of the content before we transfer everything over. But there hasn't even been any approval as far as like our budget with the other software company that we're hoping to move this towards. So it's
Got it.
down the road and it's gonna be long.
right, well, just keep
anytime
us
that there are
posted. Yeah,
substantial
yeah.
updates, I will be more than happy to share them. But I
Because
just
it's
wanna give full disclosure, it's a huge and
Huge.
very long project.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because,
That project is
Yeah.
not, Economic and Tourism Development is not the lead on that project either. That is IT.
Yes,
And
I'm
we
just-
are just working with them because we have so many pages that deal with economic development and tourism.
And I also have
Katie-
background with
yeah,
website
Katie
stuff,
has
so
the
I'm working
background
with
to
Sandy
help.
on that.
Was that of this year or 25?
I couldn't tell you. I know what we would like to happen, but it's just, we just don't know when it's gonna come to fruition.
all right, well,
But
any
it's-
big
it's in
news, keep
progress.
us posted because it's critical.
Right, yes, no, it's moving along, but I have no update on when things are going to happen. I can just say that Sandy and I are actively working on cleaning up pages and working with departments.
Okay,
Once a decision's made, it'll, it has to go before the commissioners and they'll approve that. And then when that happens, I can happily let you know that we're going full force with it.
I was going to say, IT will do a project like timeline at that point, once they decide they are very good at like project timelines.
So that'd be helpful to know, yeah. Just don't want it to go by the wayside because we're all very interested in getting that to happen. And then I some ongoing projects and some things Jamie you brought up at Budget Day that I'd like to follow up on. So like I'd like to understand what's going on with the Kennedyville housing development there and where that is, and just keep us, like a quarterly report or something like that. So, because the county has it now and it's kind of, I don't know if it's, I don't know. So people ask me all the time what's going on there, and I can't answer that question.
The last update that I did, that's what I have. The county commissioners had a working session, I think that's what they called it, and decided that, so there, I get tongue-tied trying to explain this, but there was the amount of money for infrastructure that it would take to complete the whole grand plan of finishing section 1, 2, and another section. And then at the last working session, the commissioners said, we just want to complete phase two, that's the word. So now what we're waiting on is figures from Public Works on the infrastructure that it would take to finish phase 2. And then we do have 2 developers and then 2 brokers that are interested in, but we need to get those figures to them so that they can evaluate, is the project going to pencil, and are they going to be interested in taking the project on?
And what happens if they don't?
Then we continue to look for others, but getting that number
Yeah.
will help somebody to decide, is this going to work and be profitable?
Who owns housing in Kent County government?
No one.
So,
And it is right now tucked under economic and tourism development because, it's a little bit of a long story, but it used to be, it is planning, housing, and zoning, but they really don't do much housing because the housing part was taken out. They're finishing up some like HIP loans and stuff like that they did a long time ago. And then the local management board had a grant for 3 years, which Dawson Hunter was hired for. And then that grant ran out. It was put into the budget request for the past 2 years. It has not been granted. So we're still trying to, within our department, we're still trying to keep housing and transportation on our radar. We help the Town of Rock Hall Town of Rock Hall and Greater Rock Hall Business Association with, how do you work the request for funding from the county commissioners? How do you work the request for the funding from the Upper Shore Regional Council to get some support for that project? So we're still working on it, and I meet with DCT regularly. So we're still working on it, but there's not enough time to really, there's not enough time to do that and everything else and have a real effect.
But you did request the commissioners fund that position, I thought, at Budget Day, or how, did I misunderstand?
We did. At this point, I've heard it's been pulled out, but nothing's final until the budget's final.
Did you have a job description for that?
Yes, we originally had the job description from the local management board. We did change it a little bit because it had a lot to do with local management board issues, and we wanted it to be more geared to economic development and, affordable and available housing. So we tweaked it a little bit, and there is a job description, yes.
Can you share that?
I can share it.
I know it's under development or
not
whatever.
been approved,
Yeah.
but I can share it, sure.
I'd just be curious, because housing is such a big and nebulous kind of issue that
It is.
I'd like to see how that shakes out as a job. And then you also mentioned at that Budget Day that you were doing a separate microgrant. You wanted to do a microgrant program for another topic? I couldn't quite hear very well, unfortunately.
Yeah, we asked for $30,000 from the Upper Shore Regional Council, 15 to match what we got in FY 2025 for the ag grant, and another 15 to do a micro grant for other small businesses in the county. We've had lots of people reach out to us, and I don't want to, in such a small town, if I say what type of company it is, you're going to know who it is. But we've had some other small businesses reach out to us that have had needs, but there's just nothing for them.
So it'd be like just a small business, generic kind of program?
You got it.
Good.
Yeah. We'd have to develop parameters and everything, and then a scoring matrix, just like we do for the ag grant. A review committee and all of that stuff, yeah. But we would like to do that. I don't know that it's looking well right now, but because I listened to the commissioner's budget work session yesterday, and they've got a lot to cut. So I'm not sure.
That's the wish list then.
I'm not sure what's going to remain. Yeah.
Yeah. And just one more thing that you mentioned is something about a grant. There's grant software or something that you talked about at that, and you said you don't do grants, or, I didn't quite follow, don't ask me why. It was talking about, I saw from that monitors grants.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The grant manager position?
No, I don't know if, was it a position? I didn't quite understand it.
I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
saying maybe
think
that
so.
was-
There was a grants manager position requested in the budget for FY 2025.
Oh, maybe that was it.
I don't know if
know.
it's in or out at this point. I
Okay,
have
so it was
not
a
heard
grants
on that.
manager position?
Yes.
Because I do want to get, and this is for a different topic, but to talk about what grants we have, what you look for, where, it's sort of a big pot of money and very, lots of pieces out there, and just how we do that, and how do we get the information out to local people who could use them. So that can be a different day. But yeah, that ties in with the grant
So-
manager position.
Judy, just so I understand, because I'm going to put it on my list here, you mean grants for the county or grants for businesses?
Both.
Okay, because we do, okay, but
I know you do
I'm not
them.
going to take the
Yeah,
time to do it today,
yeah.
but
No,
yeah,
I know you do
I can
them.
share with you what we do at a different time.
Yeah, and just sort of, because it's a huge part of economic development is grants, and I see people advertising them in different counties that do different ones. I get things from rural Maryland, and, you don't know where they are, and how would a business even know, that they're out there? They don't know what they don't know, and how do we reach them, and are we reaching them effectively, stuff like that.
Got it.
Well, we do, one of the things, Judy, you may not be aware of, but we do have a fairly extensive outreach
Yeah, I'd like to know what that
to the
is.
community
Yeah,
that says, here are the opportunities for grants, for loans, for other kinds of things for different businesses, and that does.
yeah, I'd like to see how directly that's
Exist.
targeted and stuff, yeah.
The other third category of grants, we have in this county a tremendous issue and lack of support for affordable housing. And I went online the other day and was looking for rental opportunities, because what's happening in town and out in the county is that businesses are recruiting people from outside who want to come here, and they can't find a place to live. I looked on for leases for rental properties. There are 7 in Kent County at the moment, and they're all over $1,200 a month. The businesses that are doing the recruiting for people aren't paying the salaries that allow them to afford that kind of monthly rental expense. So we've got an issue. And we don't have funding for the position that was requested. So one option is to look for grant funding, to bring somebody in to consult with us. And Jamie and I have had this conversation when we were down in Cambridge, where they had a very effective presentation on, trying to look for creative ways to build coalitions to support the development of affordable housing in different communities. And I think that ought to be something that's on our radar screen for consideration, because everybody gets affected by that. I'm sure, Judy, you've encountered that.
And I would like to just dovetail and add to that, the short-term rental. I've heard that we are investigating, or we have it under control, but I still think,
I don't think we have it under control.
well, I don't know what's happening
We
with it.
started.
But I can tell you, people are still coming in and buying out properties, and they're renting them as Airbnbs. And that pulls long-term rentals off for people that I would like to work for me and have an opportunity to buy a home. They're being outbidded. And I know not everybody sees it the same way I do, but it's going to snowball and be a very serious problem, not only for employers who have employees, but also for the hotel and B&B association. This week, I got an email to get the B&B association back up and running again, which I'm very happy to hear about that. And within a few minutes, everybody's emailing, well, I have rooms available for Tea Party. Oh, I have rooms available for graduation. Oh, I have rooms available. that didn't used to be the way. I used to be full all the time, and I'm not now. There's something underground that's happening out there that is pulling tourism business away from us. And I think it has something to do with Airbnbs. And I don't know how we can have somehow a report on that, because for me, it's a double-edged sword. My tasting room is full of Airbnbers, 10, 15, 20 people coming in on a weekend that are staying at a house near us or in Millington or in Crumpton or someplace else. And that's good for that part of my business, but it's not good for the people who have worked really hard to provide an experience in their bed and breakfast associations.
Well, I think getting the Airbnb association together is good. I also think that what the department's done in terms of enforcing the payment of room tax, finding a way to get room tax paid by the free flyers, is an incentive for, them to comply and to hopefully become a part of the association. I don't think there's any way we can stop people from saying they're gonna do this if the local ordinance permits it.
But you feel the pain.
I've been feeling it for years.
Yeah.
It didn't just
Yeah.
wake up this year and feel it. And I've been expressing those concerns for years.
I think I don't know, in our county how you would do it with the way we're structured, but I do read that some counties or some communities have banned Airbnbs or strictly, restricted them. I mean, there's cases out there where they've done different things, and I don't know if we're at that point, but that's certainly an option.
Well, the local land ordinance, and I can speak to that, does permit short-term rentals. Now, communities can say, that this that have HOAs and that sort of thing can set some parameters for how long people are there, what does short-term mean. There are restrictions on noise and that sort of things. But it's pretty open.
We could always change, land use ordinances. I mean,
Is
we
this a
just
good
went through
subject for
I know,
our
we can-
next?
it's not finished, but,
meeting next month?
yeah, but anyhow, I mean, there's always options. If it's a huge problem, we have to look at creative solutions.
Should we put this specific item on our agenda for brainstorming next month? Is there subject matter experts we can bring in?
Well, I'd like to share we've been dealing with it for almost a year now. I'd like to share what we've discovered. We have looked at, I don't know how many different codes, how many different counties, and not just in the state of Maryland, but in other counties. We've looked at 3 different softwares. I mean, it's a lot to do, so I don't want to get in the weeds today, but definitely, I mean, I feel like we're almost subject matter experts on short-term rentals at this point. Joanne, Rich, and I had the same conversation, Judy, about it taking rentals off of the market for the workers. So, yeah, we know that's a real issue. And the Lodging Association meeting, I think they only meet once a year. They have been active because we have attended. They just don't meet very often, and maybe we need to meet more often. But we are going to talk about short-term rentals there. And Joanne said, there's going to be lots of concerns. And I said, I'm ready to hear them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And, there's the other side of, there's enforcement of paying the taxes, and then there's enforcement of other things. And that's going to be different in the county versus the town of Chestertown. The town of Chestertown's obviously going to have a problem with parking, whereas parking may not be as much of an issue out in the county. So, you've got basically 6 different sets of rules for short-term rentals when it comes to, I want to say, code enforcement rather than enforcement of paying taxes. But the identification and the monitoring that this software system will do will definitely get us to a better place and be able to collect more of that revenue that is owed to the county and the municipalities.
And we can talk about this later. Maybe see, is it comparable, the tax versus what the B&Bs pay? I don't know.
It's all the same.
It's the same amount?
5%, Judy?
5%.
5%.
We don't pay it, we collect it from the customer, and then
Right,
we have to
right.
send it into the
Yeah.
county.
Yeah, just like you do with sales tax. Yeah. And going forward, and I've actually reached out, was having to be speaking to someone from Comfort Suites, and I was able to tell him that it is going to change, that they're going to they pay monthly, and he said, well, that's great, because we got to get online and pay our sales tax anyway, so I'll just do my sales tax and my lodging tax right then, and I'm done for the month. So, you'll be able to file everything right online, which has not been the case in the past, so I think it's all good.
Time to talk about the book. Everybody's done your
Oh,
homework?
I thought we were on, okay. Well, it's 425, and we want to lead, I mean, I put a lot of money into that book, and I think we'd like everybody to get to read the book, and I'd rather table it, and I didn't know I was going to lead it, or you just had it on there, I didn't know how it was going to go, so.
Didn't either.
So I'm not ready to
Okay.
do that, I didn't know.
Well, let's go ahead and put that on the agenda for next month and leave sufficient time to give it a good book report.
Okay,
So can we go back to, I know we talked about future
Yeah.
meeting structure, but subject matter expert presentations? Because I've heard different things. So I want to know what the commission really wants there. Who do you want to hear from? Who do you not want to hear from? Who's valuable, who's not valuable? Because I know I've invited in some people, and then other people said that didn't mean anything. So I just need to know which way do we need to go? And who do you want me to invite in? Who do you not want me to? I mean, as an example, I did ask John Trotweiser to come off the agenda, but we had asked him in a meeting to come. So how do you want me to proceed with those?
I find the presentations to be of value. And in fact, meeting some of these people has provided me personally with the opportunity to meet and talk with them outside of this venue and identify opportunities to work together in the things that they're working on. For example, home ports. The gal from Home Ports I had a long conversation with the other day. They're dealing with the question of transportation, which we've identified as a countywide issue. And so I think that knowing about them and what they're doing and what their challenges are and how they think they can be a party to what we're trying to do on a more global scale is valuable. I thought the presentation on what they're doing at, my brain is dead.
SBA?
Excuse me?
I was saying the visitor center.
Well, the visitor center and the, the downtown association and what Main Street, what Main Street is doing is really exciting and has the opportunity to be, expanded beyond.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to hear from the Farm Bureau on what they're doing. Because we haven't had a presentation on the agricultural elements of the county. So understanding that, expanding our awareness of what they're contributing and what their needs are is I think, a good idea. I mean, I'm certainly open to hearing what other people think.
well, I'd like to hear from the towns. I don't know when, I've been on since July, so maybe it was the end of about this time last year, but the towns are Rock Hall, Millington, Wharton, they're not like Chestertown, and I'd like to.
Betterton.
And Betterton, yeah, so, sorry, Dick, well, you're here. Yeah, you can, and Galena, yeah, thank you. So all these forgotten towns, right, we don't ever hear from, and I'd like to know what's going on in the towns and how we can help them and what resources they're looking for, and, use our expertise to see if we can't fill in some of those gaps. I'd like to hear from Rosie, from the local management board, and how we're dealing with underserved communities and how we can focus on poverty and helping find some resources for them. Bill Mackey hasn't been here from Planning and Zoning since I've been on the board, and I think that would be interesting. I still don't know what the Upper Shore Regional Council does, but that might not just be me. See, how are they a resource? Rural Maryland Council's a huge resource for us in the counties. So those are some of the ones I have done. Of course, Washington College is critical to all of us, and there's some great overlap that we have with them.
So, but we're only going to have a speaker every other month?
I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm asking like for
That's what I
structure,
was proposing, a speaker every other month.
for structure-wise.
But with the list that we're building, we either need longer meetings or,
How about if I make a list and then people can vote on which ones they, make a list of everything that's been
Or
discussed?
prioritize them.
Prioritize, like, who would we want to hear from first? And then we could go
well,
from there?
John would be next.
John Schrodweiser, okay.
Yeah, he's a good
yeah.
one.
I know he can't do June, so I can ask him about July.
Okay.
So June can be our brainstorming session, there we go.
And didn't we hear from the mayors, like, from?
That was,
Yeah, John-
Charlie reached out to them for us, and I think we did hear from
Heard from John Carroll,
John Carroll.
heard from Joe Manning.
You heard that they were interested in coming, or
No,
what?
they came
They
before you.
came.
Oh, so that's what I'm saying, it might have been
Yeah.
just before me, so we'll have to wait.
Do they come as a panel or individually?
Individually.
Okay, 'cause
We could do a
And then we
panel.
heard from Larry DeRay
Yeah, we've heard from
And
him.
Mayor Foster.
and Mayor Foster.
So pretty much everybody except for.
But that's Chestertown, everybody
Better
except
to-
Chestertown.
We have, I'm saying, we've heard from everybody except for Rock Hall, which would be James.
Yeah, we had
Scott.
Galena and
We
Millington.
had
Yeah, but that
Galena.
was almost a year ago.
But it's been a little while.
Yeah.
So if there's anything.
We didn't get Betterton and Rock
didn't.
Hall, right?
And we had Cindy Gentner on this board for 6 years from Rock Hall.
Did she give a report? I mean, because Sandy could give a report. I mean, I don't know what kind of report you're thinking.
From
Yep.
towns, you mean?
Yeah, I don't know why Cindy Genther, being on the board, would give the report for Rock Hall versus the city official or town official. I don't know how that works.
James works full-time and then,
We could also maybe invite Aaron back since he's with the Economic Development Board with Rock Hall. I mean,
Yep.
he'd be happy to come in.
Sure.
Well, all of the towns have just completed, I think, their master plans.
Not better. It's a work in progress.
Master
Well,
plans or
to be
comp-
completed,
Comp plans,
comp plans.
okay. Just to make sure we're
So
talking.
I think just a brief summary of the salient points of the comp plans
Yep.
might be helpful, because it'll talk about what they're looking at in terms of potential annexation, growth,
Yep.
and that sort of thing, so.
Okay.
and changing of zoning of some areas, because I know in Rock Hall, there was property that was zoned, I forget what it was zoned for commercial or something, and they wanted to change it to affordable housing where they were going to put, I don't know.
Like
where it would be.
mixed-use residential?
Yeah, it would be like duplexes and single-family homes.
Behind the
combination.
Walgreens property.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So, and, so that would possibly help others if that means,
Well, it helps put things in perspective.
well, right, I mean, to be able to say, oh, there's a development that's going to be built, I mean, if they have any.
Yeah, and part of that discussion was to ban short-term rentals
Right.
within that development,
Yeah.
so,
Oh, I see, there you go. Work around.
absolutely.
The other thing, I think it was, I was trying to remember who I had a conversation with, I think it was Jim Rich, was saying that some areas, he may have been talking in New York, but where they were having similar issues with houses being scarfed up and turned into Airbnbs, that they put, I don't know if it was code or what it would be considered zoning or something, but that the person who owned the home would have to reside there X number of months out of the year or something like that, that that was,
Part of the requirement.
yeah.
To be
try
authorized to
to
do
limit,
that, yep.
yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of models out there, and they're all a little different.
So is our brainstorming session then, can it be on short-term rentals next month, or where are we going with that? Because it was something of issue, of
You
interest.
guys,
You
so
said there's a lot out there.
So what do we want to pick?
there is,
Is that a good one?
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Maybe everybody can look to find their favorite workaround.
I know in bringing the towns in, David Foster is full-time mayor of Chestertown. Donnie Sutton in Betterton works in Elkton, and meeting during the day is difficult for him.
we could, in those cases, ask like Tom Mogul or Bob Bresley from the town of Rock Hall, since James works during the day.
Yeah.
We could do that, because the town manager could certainly
Yep.
Oh,
fill in.
Yeah, I don't have a particular person in mind, I just want to hear what's going on and where we can help them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm watching the clock,
Okay.
and I'm seeing other people doing the same thing. So, what else do we want to cover today that's still on the agenda?
Well, I can give a quick update. Ideas for promoting Chestertown Hot Desk. Hope everybody is familiar with Chestertown Hot Desk. I did put a link in the staff report to kind of get everybody a little bit more familiar with it. And actually, we think we might have one office rented out now, so we'll have one more office, and then, of course, co-working space. So we've got ads running with WCTR. We're going to do some Tidewater Trader ads. WKHS is going to get the students to do some push out for us there. And if there's any other ideas for pushing it out, the idea is to get small businesses or entrepreneurs to take that space, develop a business, and then go out into the community and lease or buy space to grow a business. And we do get a lot of teleworkers or people who work in DC and they want to work here 2 or 3 days a week because they don't want to drive every day. So they need that internet access, and maybe they've got kids at home, so they need a quiet place to work. So we've got some of that as well, and we welcome all of that. So just ways to get the word out.
I do have one note, should have probably put it in my chair report, and that is, I attended a double ribbon cutting Friday, and I think it's not a big deal, but it's an important activity for us to be represented anytime a business is expanding, moving. But when they scheduled it 5 o'clock on a Friday, that's tough for staff. I wouldn't want to say to staff, you got to make them. And for some reason, Kent County seems to have the ribbon cuttings on Fridays at 5 o'clock.
I think a lot of them like to do it when it's a first Friday downtown.
Yeah, and this was in concert with the First Friday, and maybe happy hours involved in that too. But whatever it is, I'm available to go. I think other commission members can swing by and represent us, and keep staff's lives a little more normal.
And normally we do. One of us are allowed, this week was just really crazy.
I counted as well, but I didn't make the.
Right. You know, and the other thing is.
Happy hour. I represented well.
So,
If you
just
can't make it
something.
that evening, maybe stop in the next week and, welcome them as well,
Yeah.
if you get the
It
opportunity.
was good.
Whatever you can do.
And at the actual event, we should coordinate it. We don't want to have all 7 of us show up and say,
Why
here's,
not?
here's your
Why not?
local.
Why not?
Well, we can do that.
Ribbon cutting.
We could have had them outnumbered. Because it was a small
I just have
crowd.
a couple more things. You mentioned the chair's report, but I think it'd be great to hear from staff, board members, like if they have anything going on, like what's going on in banking or Rock Hall and the golf cart thing, or, just updates on bed and breakfast and who's stopping by, and, just so we have an idea from our
Good idea.
representation.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be long, we don't need, yep. And then I had another idea, Rose, for, how I hate going up to the attic. And I thought if you got some photos framed from local photographers of the beautiful landscape of Kent County and hung them on that wall, you wouldn't think you're going to the attic, just at the top of the landing. Could you do that?
We can look into it.
Yeah, because I take the stairs, and I got up there the first time I went there, and I thought I was in the wrong place, because there's no sign or anything to say, welcome to Kent, economic development, or, here's beautiful Kent County.
I have something to share.
Paula?
I have the privilege of sitting on a number of economic development and planning commissions. One as an advisor to the Maryland Planning Department. I was just appointed to the Citizens Advisory Council for the schools, Kent County Schools. And I also sit on the Planning Commission, and
Here.
so I've got a variety of different hats that I wear in looking at the role here. And it's come to I get a whole bunch of stuff, from the internet and from these organizations. One of the things I found that I thought was interesting was this report, which is called a Rural New Deal. And it's put out by the Rural Urban Bridge. And I pulled just a couple of pages of the report, and I'm happy to send it to you. I think there are aspects of this that really deal with the nitty-gritty of economic development, and particularly rural economic development. And I'm happy to email, I have the full report that I'm happy to email you. I wasn't prepared to, and I don't know if I have enough copies for everybody, but certainly.
Send us a link.
I can email them to you. But one of the things that struck me in going through this and other materials that I'm getting right now is the need to really achieve balance. We have a bunch of different, sometimes competing interests here. And I get to see a lot of them on the Planning Commission, actually. But I think part of the planning process and part of the economic development outreach needs to be how we maintain and achieve balance, because that's essential for the economic survival of the county, I think. We have retail interests, we have agricultural interests, we have, residential interests versus farm interests. Tourism is another element. And how we keep those things all in balance so that they support each other in productive, financially beneficial ways. And where we don't take the view that because somebody's making a profit, it's bad, because that needs to happen, obviously, is going to be important as we go forward. So that's my view for the day. But this report is, I think, really balanced and suggests collaborative opportunities. So I'll send it to everybody if you want it.
No, this is good. I was at the Smart Growth meeting they had on Thursday in Annapolis, and Rebecca Fleur repeated the same thing, and the head of the Smart Growth, but I forget what it was called. And he talked about balance and the 5 things which are very similar to this. Yeah, it's important to keep all those facets in the forefront, not just look at, some white man, white hat coming in to save us. We have to work at all the individual communities that we serve.
I haven't seen anybody in the white hat yet.
No, but that was mentioned in the book. It's in the book. They talk about that,
Okay. So good. I'll get this out to you, and if you can take a look, I think you'll find it instructive.
As chair, I take the liberty to suspend all the rest of our agenda and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All in favor, please stand.